Do you want to know what happens on the next day on The Bold and the Beautiful? If you want to know what happens in advance, follow our video, Crystal Chandeliers Cast Fractured Light Across the Marble Floor. The same floor that had borne the weight of 1,000 fashion triumphs and twice as many family betrayals. Today, it trembled beneath the collective heartbeat of 5 people who thought they had seen the worst Los Angeles could throw at them. They were wrong. Ivy Forrester stood closest to the double doors, one manicured hand pressed to her throat as if she could physically hold back the scream building there. Her platinum hair, usually a perfect cascade, had begun to fray at the edges to meet rebellions against the composure she wore like armor. Beside her, Electra's fingers dug into the sleeve of Ivy's silk blouse, knuckles white, eyes wide with the kind of dread that turns blood to ice. Hope Logan Forrester hovered near the display podium, a half-finished gown draped across it like a corpse at a wake. The fabric was meant to be the centerpiece of the new hope for the future line: ethereal, hopeful, forgiving. The irony tasted metallic on her tongue. Daphne, ever the quiet observer, lingered by the mood board, her dark eyes flicking between faces like a chess player calculating 17 moves ahead. And at the center of it all stood Deke, shoulders squared, jaw set, the picture of a man who believed he could rewrite history with sheer force of will. He had promised them a surprise, a celebration, a new chapter. He had delivered a detonation. The doors swung open with theatrical. Sloanstick's flair for drama had always been his Achilles heel, and there he was. Remy. Not the Remy they remembered from grainy tabloid photos or whispered rumors in the steam room at the Bikram studio. This Remy was taller, broader, his once boyish face sharpened by years, and something darker. The scar that sliced through his left eyebrow courtesy of a broken champagne flute at a party none of them had been invited to, caught the light like a warning. His suit was bespoke, midnight blue, the kind of cut that cost more than most people's rent. But it was his eyes that stopped hearts. They were the same eyes that had once stared out from missing person posters taped to lampposts in Silver Lake. The same eyes that had watched Electra cry herself to sleep for months after he vanished without a trace. The room exhaled as one. Ivy's hand dropped from her throat to clutch Electra's arm. "No," she whispered, the word barely audible, yet it ricocheted off the walls like gunfire. "Deke, tell me this is a sick joke." Dek's smile faltered, but only for a second. "Ivy, everyone, this is Remy. My..." "Don't," Electra cut in, her voice ablaze. She stepped forward, dragging Ivy with her as if the older woman were a shield. "Don't you dare say it. Don't you dare stand there in my family's showroom and introduce that monster as your anything." Remy tilted his head, the movement almost gentle. "Electra," he said, and the sound of her name in his mouth was a violation. "You look exactly the same." The words hung in the air like smoke. Hope made a sound half gasp. Half Selband pressed her fingers to her lips. Daphne's hand moved to the phone in her pocket, thumb hovering over campus security. Old habits from her days as a raw died hard. Deke raised both hands, palms out. Okay, let's all just..." "Shut up, Deke." Electra's voice cracked like a whip. "You don't get to mediate this. You don't get to play peacemaker after you brought him here. After everything he did." Remy's gaze flicked to Deke, something unreadable passing between them. "She still thinks I'm the villain," he said softly. "After all this time." "You are," Electra spat. "You left. You vanished. You let us think you were dead." "I was protecting you," Remy interrupted, his voice low, dangerous. "You have no idea what I walked away from. What I spared you." "Spared me?" Electra laughed, the sound brittle and broken. "You spared me nothing. You took everything. My trust. My future. My..." She stopped, the word baby dying on her tongue. "Not here. Not in front of them. Not with Luna's pregnancy already a ticking bomb in the next room." Ivy stepped between them, her maternal instincts overriding her shock. "Remy," she said, and his name tasted like rust in her mouth. "Why are you here? After 10 years, why now?" Remy's eyes softened just for a moment. "Because I never stopped loving her. System, her. And because Deke gave me a second chance. The room spun. Hope clutched the edge of the podium, the gown slipping to the floor in a puddle of ivory silk. Daphne's thumb finally pressed down. Security would be here in 90 seconds. Electra's laugh was hollow. A second chance? You think you can just waltz back in here with your fancy suit and your sob story and erase what you did? You think Deck's absolution means anything to me? Deke flinched. Electra, I know you're hurt. Hurt, she whirled on him, eyes blazing. You have no idea. You weren't there when I found the positive test. You weren't there when I sat in that clinic alone, wondering if the baby was even yours or if she stopped, chest heaving. The secret she'd buried for a decade clawed its way up her throat. Remy's face drained of color. What test? Electra's hands trembled. Nothing. Forget it. But Remy was already piecing it together, his mind racing back to stolen nights and whispered promises. Electra, he said, voice barely above a whisper. Were you? Don't, she warned, stepping back. Don't you dare. The doors burst open again this time. It was Will. He took in the scene with a single sweep. Electra's tears, Remy's shock, Deck's guilt, the fallen gown. His jaw tightened. What the hell is going on? Electra's voice broke. Will, I. But Remy moved first, stepping toward Will with the confidence of a man who'd faced worse. You must be the new boyfriend, he said, extending a hand. Remy Pritchard. Pleasure. Will stared at the hand like it was a live wire. Touch me, he said slowly, and I will end you. The threat hung in the air, raw and real. Security flooded into a burly guards in Forrester Creations blazers, but Daphne waved them off with a subtle shake of her head. This wasn't their fight. Not yet. Hope found her voice. Everyone, just stop. We're not doing this here. Not in the showroom. Not with, she gestured vaguely at the chaos. Not with everything else. But Electra was beyond reason. She lunged at Remy, fists clenched, only to be caught by Will's arms around her waist. Let me go, she screamed. He doesn't get to just come back. Remy didn't flinch. I'm not here to take anything from you, Electra. I'm here to give you the truth. The truth, she laughed again, manic. The truth is you're a coward. The truth is you left me to raise. She bit her tongue so hard she tasted blood. Will's grip tightened. Raise what? The room went deathly quiet. Electra's eyes met Remy's across the showroom, and in that moment, 10 years collapsed into a single heartbeat. The secret she'd guarded with her life, the child she'd given up to protect from the storm of their past, it all threatened to spill out here, now in front of the people who mattered most. Deke finally spoke, his voice small. There's a child. Remy's knees buckled. He sank onto the edge of the display platform, the weight of a decade crashing down. Electra, he whispered. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were gone, she said, the fight draining from her voice. You were gone, and I was 19 and terrified, and she looked at Will, tears streaming. I thought I was protecting everyone. Will's arms fell away. He stared at her as if seeing her for the first time. You had a kid. With him. Electra nodded, barely. A girl. I gave her up. Closed adoption. I couldn't, her voice cracked. I couldn't be the mother she deserved. Not then. The showroom felt like a tomb. Ivy's hand covered her mouth, tears spilling over. Hope sank to the floor beside the ruined gown, hugging her knees. Daphne finally moved, crossing to Electra and wrapping her in a fierce hug. Remy stood slowly, every movement deliberate. Where is she? Electra shook her head. I don't know. The records are sealed. I made sure of it. But you could find her, he said. We could find her. Together. No, the word was steal. You don't get to swoop in now and play daddy. You lost that right the day you walked out. Will found his voice. And you don't get to decide that for her, Electra. Not anymore. He looked at Remy, something dangerous flickering in his eyes. But if you hurt her again, if you so much as breathe wrong in her direction, he will bury you. and no amount of Deck's forgiveness will save you. Remy met his gaze, unflinching. Fair enough. Deke stepped forward, hands raised again. Okay. We're all processing. Maybe we take a beat. Go home. Sleep on it. Sleep. Electra's laugh was bitter. You think any of us are sleeping tonight? Hope stood, brushing wrinkles from her skirt with trembling hands. She's right. This isn't something we table. But it's not something we solve with screaming either. She looked at Remy, really looked at him. You want redemption. Earn it? Start by telling us why you left. All of it. No more secrets. Remy hesitated, then nodded. Not here. Somewhere private. Ivy wiped her eyes. The executive lounge. It's soundproof. They moved like a funeral procession. The fallen gown left behind like a casualty. Security trailed at a distance, unsure whether to intervene. Daphne locked the showroom doors behind them, the click echoing like a gunshot. In the lounge, the city sprawled beyond floor-to-ceiling windows, oblivious to the implosion within. Remy stood at the glass, hands in his pockets, while the others formed a loose semicircle. Electra sat on the edge of a leather sofa, well beside her but not touching. The space between them was a chasm. Remy began to speak. He told them about the night he left, though he'd overheard a conversation between his father and a man with a scar across his throat. How they'd been discussing a shipment, a debt, a girl who'd seen too much. How Remy's name had been on a list. How walking away had been the only way to keep Electra safe. I thought if I disappeared, they'd forget about you, he said. I was wrong. They never forgot. But I stayed gone anyway. Built a new life. Became someone else. And then Deke found me. Deck's voice was rough. I was in Prague for a shoot. Recognized him in a cafe. He told me everything. I thought if I brought him back, gave you closure. Closure? Electra's voice was raw. You thought dragging him here would give me closure. I thought it would give you a choice, Deke said. To hate him. To forgive him. To know the truth. Will leaned forward. And the kid. Where does she fit in your grand plan? Remy turned from the window. She's the reason I came back. I have resources now. People who can find her. If Electra wants. Electra's hands twisted in her lap. I don't know what I want. The admission hung between them, fragile as spun glass. Hope spoke softly. None of us do. Not yet. But we're family dysfunctional, dramatic, occasionally homicidal but family. We figure it out together. Ivy nodded, starting with Luna. The name dropped like a stone. Electra's head snapped up. What about Luna? Ivy's eyes filled again. She's in the design room with Steffi. Will's with her. The baby's his. DNA confirmed. Will went very still. You knew. I suspected. Ivy admitted. The timing. The way she looked at you. I didn't want to believe it. Electra stood, swaying slightly. So while I was drowning in the past, you were all keeping secrets about the present. Will reached for her hand. She let him take it. I didn't know how to tell you. Not with everything else. Remy watched them, something unreadable in his expression. You love him, he said quietly. Really love him. Electra looked at Will, saw the fear and fierce protectiveness in his eyes. Yes, she said. I do. Remy nodded once, as if a decision had been made. Then I'll go. After I help you find here our daughter. Then I'll go. No, Electra said. The word surprised them all. You don't get to leave again. Not until we've faced this. All of it. Together. Outside, the city lights flickered on, one by one. Inside, 6 people stood on the precipice of something none of them could name. The past had returned, dragging secrets in its wake. The future was a blank page, stained with tears and possibility. Tomorrow, Luna would demand answers. Tomorrow, Will would have to choose between the child he hadn't known he had and the woman he couldn't live without. Tomorrow, Remy would begin the search for a little girl who might not want to be found. But tonight, in the hush of the executive lounge, they were simply six souls trying to hold the pieces together long enough to see what picture they might form. The bold and the beautiful had never been bolder or more broken. And somewhere in the design room, a baby kicked inside Luna's belly, oblivious to the storm gathering around the family it would soon join. The showdown was just beginning. We hope you enjoyed it and look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe my channel for more updates on the bold and the beautiful.